Hello and welcome to the Sound Test Room. My name is Jakob. I'm your host and you're watching a attaQ episode. I love DM2 and I also love trap style drums. And in this episode, I'm gonna show you how to make something that sounds like this from something that sounds like this. These are the sounds that will be loaded when you go into the song mode and make a new song. And with a few tweaks here and there, we can make some trap style drum sounds. Now, I'm not trying to go for something that sounds exactly like in TR-808. I want to make something that sounds trap-like. So let's begin by going into the drum section and we're gonna have a listen to the kick drum. So we solo that out. Now, something that is important with trap style drumming is you need a bass drum with a lot of bass and a lot of low end and a long tail. We're gonna go into the oscillator section. So I'm gonna move this up to about 50 Hertz. Now we're gonna go into the oscillator pitch modulation. And what it does actually, it makes the oscillator jump. But that's too much. What we want is something tiny. We want a tiny jump. So I'm gonna set this to a length of 10 milliseconds, making it a short jump. So it's basically an envelope controlling the pitch of the oscillator. That's all it is. We're gonna increase the amount a bit. Now next we need to tweak the oscillator envelope. We need a long tail and you're gonna hear why. So around 1400 milliseconds, and we want to keep the attaQ right at the beginning, so 0 milliseconds for the attaQ. Now you can put a bit of noise into this. All you need to do is pull up this mixer to here and you'll start hearing the noise. But I'm gonna leave the noise out. We're not gonna add any distortion. And after that we only have one more section, and that's the actual oscillator filter. So we need to go in there. I'm gonna do a minor tweak to it. So I'm liking the bass drum and we're gonna move on to this snare sound. Let's solo that out. The first thing we're going to do is to make sure that we listen to the oscillator by pulling this all the way to the left. Now we only have the oscillator sound coming out. Enlarge this window. Usually a snare drum lies around 200 to 250, but I like my snares around 300. The next thing we're going to do is to go to the oscillator pitch modulation. Now here you can really set how snappy you want your sound to be. I'm going to set mine to about 44 with a strength of 50. 51, that will do it. Let's clean that off a bit. Now that's pretty strong. We're gonna make some more adjustments. Now, if we look down at the oscillator envelope, we've got different types of waveforms. It's actually the shape of the envelope. The last one is actually an envelope that repeats itself. Now, I want to set that quite short, so we get a little bit of grain because the envelope actually loops over itself. When you keep it short, you get kind of a snappy sound, and this is great to use for the noise oscillator when you want to make clap sounds. We're also going to shorten down the length of the envelope to about 228 milliseconds. And now we need to add some noise into this. Quite a bit of noise actually. I'm gonna pull this fully up and we're gonna start by tweaking the noise filter. And we're gonna use the same type of envelope that we used on the oscillator envelope on the noise envelope. this to 22, around 200 milliseconds, somewhere around there. And now that we set up our tone with the oscillator section and the noise for our snare, we just need to balance the mix between the oscillator noise and the noise sound. So about 89% noise and 11% oscillator sound. As you can see, we also have some distortion here. I'm just gonna minimize that a bit, between 10 and 15%. Next, we're gonna work on the hi-hat. So let's start working on the tone first. Now I want something quite high pitched. The first thing we're gonna do, we're gonna change the waveform to a sine waveform. And next we're gonna pull down so we only hear the oscillator. We're gonna open up this, pull this up quite a bit, and you'll hear it. Tweak the oscillator envelope. That's a very tiny sound. So of course we need some noise into this. So I'm gonna pull the mixer up so we only hear the noise section. The important thing here is to filter it right. We're gonna tweak this. So pull that up quite a bit, something like that. Tweak the noise envelope and make it shorter, about 50 or something, 45 milliseconds, that will be enough. And now we only need to balance the mix between the oscillator section and the noise section. 40-60. So we have a little metallic sound in there. Now there's already some distortion going on here, and we're gonna keep it there, and we're not gonna touch the filter for the oscillator. The next thing we need is some kind of a rim shot. So this sounds nothing like a rim shot, but what I'm gonna do doesn't sound like a rim shot either. The first thing we're gonna do is to change the waveform from triangular wave to sine wave. Then we're gonna open up the window, and we're gonna put this around 180 Hertz. Let's go to the oscillator pitch modulation. We're gonna change the waveform to a sine wave. We're gonna open up this window, a positive strength of about 80%, and we're gonna pull up the frequency quite a bit to around 1800, like there. Next, we're gonna go down to the oscillator filter. We're gonna switch the filter, and increase this to around 2000 Hertz. Make it kind of a rough, really rough filter. Next, we're gonna go to the oscillator envelope, and we're gonna switch the waveform to that nice loopy waveform. I'm gonna do this so it's really short, but it's not gonna show anything in the milliseconds up here, and then make this about 23 milliseconds. And now we have a percussion-like, I don't know what to call it exactly. It's not a rim shot, but it's my version of one. So we made a kick drum, a snare drum, a hi-hat, and a rim shot. Next, we're gonna go to the mix, try to balance out our levels. Now all this could need is a little bit of reverb. So let's go into the FX section, turn on the reverb, pull it up just a little bit. And that's how you make trap style drum sounds out of the basic ones that get loaded up when you make a new song. I recommend that you try DM2 out if you haven't yet. It's an awesome, incredible drum synthesizer, and that's what I like about it. It's a drum synthesizer. You can really do a lot with it. I'm not telling you to buy it, but if you want it, you can go and grab it from the app link down below. As usual, Doug Woods, Colin Sweeney, and me, Jakob at soundtestrum.com, wishes you a very productive week. Now go finger your stuff and have a lot of fun doing it.